So the second part of photosynthesis would be the light-independent reactions, and it's also known as the Calvin cycle. It's commonly known as the dark cycle or the dark reaction because it happens when there's no light for the plant to create energy. So to start, we have RUBP, which is ribulose biphosphate, and there will be 3. In the purpose of this video, we will only show 3, but there will be many sets made in order for it to create glucose as the energy for the plant. So the first out of 3 steps in the Calvin cycle is carbon fixation, where each of the RUBP gains an extra carbon from the CO2 from the where the plant would breathe it in, and as it goes to each one, it'll gain a carbon. And the CO2 would not be needed for this process. Then the enzyme Rubisco would go to the RUBP and split each one into half, so we would have 3. And these ones are now known as G3P. So now we'll be moving along to the next step, which is reduction, where we will need ATP, at least 6 of them, for the NADPH that we made in the first process in the light-dependent reaction, where it will oxidize, meaning it'll lose its hydrogen, but at the same time it's being reduced, meaning that the G3P will gain its hydrogen, and now this will be NADP. And each one is using ATP, so it goes down to ADP. So because of that, we need more ATP to start moving along the cycle. So we'll be moving to the cyclic phosphorylation. And we talked about this in our previous video in light-dependent reaction, where the photosystem 2 creates ATP and the photosystem 1 creates NADPH. So previously when we talked about this video, the electrons would be at the photosystem 1, and in order to create more ATP, the electrons, as it loses its energy, would go to the cytochromazine, and it would have the hydrogen from the outside where the stroma is enter the thylakoid space, and it will have a high gradiency, concentration gradiency of hydrogen, and so it'll go to ATP synthase, and as it goes down this, it will create the ADP originally, and then create ATP as it creates the reaction of ADP and the phosphate. And then now we can continue on with the cycle. So, as stated before, we will have another more sets of the RUBP in order to have these triose phosphates. But for this video, we will only show that there's 6, and because it needs 2 triose phosphates, we only leave behind 1 because the second set will leave the other one, and it will create glucose because glucose would have 6 carbon molecules, not 3. So the remaining 5 will go in step 3 of the Calvin cycle, which is regeneration, and this is where 5 of these triose phosphates will go back to the original form of 3 RUBPs, and we will need 6 of the ATPs for all of this to start. So we would get the carbons and combine them back into the original form of 5. So now we can repeat the process of the Calvin cycle. And the final products from this would be the 18 ATP that we used in each of the steps, and then 12 NADPH because of the other sets of RUBPs coming in to create more of the glucose.